Welcome to Coffee and a Pipe. I'm Eric. For me, pipe smoking has never been about rushing. It's about slowing down, leaving distractions behind, and enjoying the moment. So grab a coffee, find a comfortable chair, and stay a while. Take your time. This moment is yours. It was a special day. At least, that was what the calendar said. For him, it felt no different from any other day. The old man sat quietly in his worn wooden chair beside the window. Outside, the wind gently moved the branches of the towering pines that surrounded his little home. The forest had been his world for as long as he could remember. It was where he had been born, where he had grown up, and where he had spent nearly every day of his 85 years. Today marked his 85th birthday. Yet there was no celebration, no laughter, no visitors, just the familiar silence and the steady company of his pipe. He carefully packed it with tobacco, struck a match, and watched the flame dance for a moment before drawing it into the bowl. Soon a thin ribbon of smoke drifted toward the ceiling. The scent brought comfort. It always had. As the smoke curled through the room, his thoughts wandered back through the years. He had grown up in a time when men earned their living with their hands. In those days, the forest provided everything. The strongest men cut timber from dawn until dusk, and every family depended on the work that the woods could provide. As a boy, he had loved trees more than anything. While other children dreamed of adventure in distant cities, he found wonder among the pines and oaks. He learned how to identify healthy trees, how to swing an axe, and how to respect the forest that fed generations of families. But what fascinated him most was not the felling of trees, it was the planting. He loved watching tiny saplings take root in the earth. He loved imagining what they would become decades later. A young forest seemed full of promise. It reminded him that life always continued, even when seasons changed. The old man smiled as another memory surfaced. His first pipe. He could still remember the day as clearly as if it had happened yesterday. His grandfather smoked a pipe. His father smoked a pipe. To a young boy, they seemed like giants, strong men who could solve any problem and face any hardship. One afternoon, when nobody was watching, he sneaked into the shed and borrowed a pipe along with a pinch of tobacco. Determined to become a man, he lit it. The first puff went badly, very badly. A cloud of smoke found its way into his lungs, and he began coughing so violently that he thought he might actually die. His father heard the commotion and came running. When he saw what had happened, he burst into laughter. "Look, Mother," he shouted toward the house. "Our boy wants to become a man." The embarrassment lasted only a few minutes. The memory lasted a lifetime. Within a few years, he had his own pipe. From that day on, it rarely left his side. The pipe accompanied him through countless days in the forest. It sat beside him during lunch breaks, beneath towering trees, and kept him company during cold winter evenings. Years passed. The young boy became a young man, and the young man discovered that women seemed to notice him more than he noticed them. There had been many smiles, many conversations, many dances, but only one woman had ever truly captured his heart. He met her at a village gathering on a warm summer evening. She laughed easily, spoke kindly, and somehow made every room brighter simply by entering it. Before long, they were inseparable. And one beautiful autumn day, they were married. The old man's eyes softened as he remembered her. Together, they built a life, a simple life, a good life. The years brought joys and hardships, victories and disappointments. There were storms that damaged their home and seasons when money was scarce. There were celebrations, holidays, and countless ordinary days that became precious memories. Through it all, his pipe remained nearby. Sometimes she would tease him about it. "One day," she would say with a smile, "you'll love that pipe more than me." He always gave the same answer, "Impossible." And it was true. Nothing mattered more than her. The decades rolled by. Slowly, almost without notice, people began disappearing from his life. Friends passed away, neighbors passed away, his parents passed away. Then came the day he had dreaded most, the day his wife died. The world became quieter after that, far quieter. The house that had once been filled with laughter suddenly seemed much too large. The chair across from him remained empty. The bed felt colder. The evenings felt longer. And so he spent many hours sitting beside the window with his pipe. Sometimes he thought about happy memories, sometimes painful ones. Sometimes he simply watched the smoke drift into the air and listened to the sounds of the forest. The pipe could not replace the people he had lost, but it helped carry the memories. It became a bridge between the life he had and the life he still remembered. The years continued to pass. Eventually, work became impossible. The forests he had planted as a young man were now tall and strong. Some stood over 100 feet high. They had outgrown him. In a way, he was proud of that. As darkness settled outside on the evening of his 85th birthday, he finished the last bowl of tobacco for the day. No visitors had come, no cards had arrived, no celebrations had taken place. He sighed gently. Perhaps this was simply what growing old meant. He placed the pipe carefully on the table beside his chair. Then he slowly made his way to bed. The old house creaked softly around him as he pulled the blanket over himself. Outside, the wind whispered through the pines. He closed his eyes, and for the first time in many years, he felt completely at peace. Then, surprise! His eyes opened at once. The room was filled with light, warm, golden light. For a moment, he was confused. The old aches in his body were gone. The weight of 85 years had vanished, and standing before him were smiling faces. Faces he knew, faces he had loved. His father stood there, grinning exactly as he had the day he caught his son smoking that first pipe. His grandfather laughed warmly beside him. Old friends waved from across the room. Neighbors, family members, and companions from long ago gathered together. Then the crowd slowly parted, and there she was, the love of his life, waiting for him. Tears filled his eyes as she stepped forward and took his hands. "You took your time," she said with a smile. He laughed through the tears. For years he had imagined this moment.